Its foundational project will be a lab factory that will educate young people in the design and fabrication with local wood, promoting the creation of bio startups. Buildings will be built using local wood, and they will be energy self-sufficient and will recycle their waters to produce food and vegetation. If we are able to incorporate local and international talented people and organizations that will support the project, we'll develop the first worldwide forest city and make possible from Africa to inspire the world.
C'est vous de leur dire, bon, on va prendre le temps, on va sur l'infini.
Ça dure combien de temps ce film?
C'est 5 minutes.
Ah oui, ok.
C'est vous.
Je vais voir.
Monsieur va intervenir.
Je suis un des intervenants pour tout à l'heure.
Ok, super.
Sébastien Bougon, Flying
Pareil.
Wells.
Super, restez là, restez là. Ne
Mais
bougez pas,
n'importe où.
on va démarrer où vous voulez, au premier rang.
Gabon is located in Central Africa and is rich for its forests, rivers, and biodiversity. Like all developing countries, their challenge is to decide whether they want to follow the principles of industrial cities or they want to invent an ecological model that attracts talented people and inspires the world. The Forest City project faced the challenge of inventing how to inhabit the planet, making the fight against climate change a reality, following the objectives of sustainable development of UN Habitat. If Gabon is a forest-rich country, this will be a forest city that will develop bioproducts and create scientific programs to learn from forest. The city will not grow following traditional urban patterns, but will follow natural principles, developing a new type of linear branch city where all neighborhoods are adapted to their environment and merge with it. The city will create mixed-use productive communities where people can live, work, and play in an environment connected to the world where the nature will inspire new human habitat. Its foundational project will be a lab factory that will educate young people in the design and fabrication with local wood, promoting the creation of bio startups. Buildings will be built using local wood, and they will be energy self-sufficient and will recycle their waters to produce food and vegetation. If we are able to incorporate local and international talented people and organizations that will support the project, we'll develop the first worldwide forest city and make possible from Africa to inspire the world.
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue au One Forest Summit Business Forum. Je m'appelle Asha Sumput et je suis ravie d'être avec vous pour animer les sessions qui vont suivre. Donc nous allons...
To tell us what they do, but before I would like to invite on the stage the Minister of Promotion of Investment here in Gabon, please, Mr. Hugues Mbadinga Madia.
Merci, Asha.
Asha, thank you. First of all, on behalf of the Gabonese government, I would like to say thank you to everybody for your massive presence here today. I'm delighted, particularly to see the private sector committed massively, qualitatively, on this issue of forest conservation and also on issues linked to environment. You know, the environment awareness raising has taken 50 years. We've gone away, a long way. Some years we had the impression to oppose to one another on the durability and some other issues around. And today we are ready to set up a new economic model in which the requirement for industrialization's economy can be matched to the development preservation requirement. And to match all these aspects, the private sector has to be fully involved. That's the choice made by the Gabonese government under the highest patronage of His Excellency Ali Bongo Ondimba. We took some measures, courageous measures,
Secteur
in some
bois,
sectors such
où en
as
2010, le
timber
gouvernement a
industry,
interdit
which in
l'exportation
2010,
du
the
bois brut,
exportation of
mais n'a pas
raw
fait qu'interdire, a
timber
pris également des
was
mesures très claires
could be
de conservation
but
de notre
measures of
biodiversité,
conservation
de nos
of
forêts, la
biodiversity
durabilité.
was not that.
Nous avons mis en place des
So
politiques
we
d'industrialisation,
definitely set up
avec
industrialization
notamment des zones
policies.
franches. Je veux parler de la zone économique spéciale d'un coq qui est connue de tous ici, qui a permis de multiplier par 5 la transformation de nos bois sur place, sans mettre en péril l'empreinte carbone. Parce que comme vous le savez, la zone économique spéciale d'un coq est neutre en carbone. Ce sont des exemples très concrets, très palpables, pour montrer que ces deux ambitions ne sont pas forcément
Project that shows that these two aspects, are important. We also want to show that the Gabonese government has taken some measures to certify a certain number of companies in the field. And today, in that economic area, we already have 12 company FSC certified. And we can see from what many people would have thought that in the field of forest, many company involved. I want to talk about SEZ, I would like to talk about Rouget and many others. They found, realize that it's no longer a constraint, but now a means to preserve the environment, but also access to more business providing market. So we have the mining sector, in which we can have success today with practices, reasonable practices, which have allowed, beyond the development sector, allow to highlight the importance of the communities with projects of social responsibility of companies. So these are some of the examples that we have to utilize. We need both government and the private sector to work in conjunction. Ladies and gentlemen, dear CEOs, dear members of the government, we have gathered all the parties, all the government of the Congo Basin, and generally of other lungs of the nation, of the global, which are interested to consolidate the activities we have launched years ago, and we have to reinforce this consensus so that the economic development be in line with the preservation of the environment. We must be able to reinforce the consensus so that new outlays, new job opportunities be created. For example, this manager, forest manager, which are new jobs. And when you look at this Gabonese forest, we have companies. Why not? Tomorrow or today have. Why not move toward more green investment that will allow to create jobs such as forest managers, because our forests today have chains of values. This is to say that we are waiting for all these solutions, and there is a very rich, dialogue which is taking place here and there, and Gabon has been able to prove that the private sector and government can work together and make a good economy, capitalize on it, and move forward. So we will be watchful to all the panelists, and thank you very much. Minister, very much. Thank you very much, and we kindly invite you to take back your seat. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've lagged a little behind. We will give 4 minutes to companies, and allow me to welcome on the stage Mr. Antoine Lassène.
Oui, merci. Donc,
Thank you. Kero is the world leader in environment. We do 3 things. We measure greenhouse gases. We work with methane polluters. We inform a certain number of entities. And that's the second source of greenhouse gases on the planet. The second thing is we build on the investment on the global economy. We look at the mining, coal, and then to build the economy. The third thing is we protect forests. We work with French environmental entities. For example, in firewood, as I said, we work with NASA, the climate protection entities in France, but in Gabon, we can't count all the trees because we have different layers. So what we do is we use radar to map out, as we are planning to do it on the COP28, where we have the height of the canopy. We do it with a radar because it's cheaper. We can cover the whole forest every week. We can calculate the biomass and then give a trust in market, carbon market with this. And because it gives us very specific message. We can face up the different challenges of the problems of the carbon market because we don't have objective metrics. But today we can calculate the carbon deltas so as to make the price go higher. That is from 10, 20 to 100, which is applied in Europe. So this is what we can do with the technology and science. It's really artificial technology that we do, that we try to recreate financial pipelines in order to protect the forest on a sustainable standard. Antoine CEO, thank you very much. And now we're going to welcome on the stage Mr. Nicolas Beaujean, the CEO of another company. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy and honored to be there. We are here aware that we have to manage the forest. It's important for the planet. We also face up all the different climate challenges. We have satellites to make analysis and extract strategic training, and that's what we do with our solution. Is a NIMBO. What is NIMBO? NIMBO is a platform of massive analysis of satellite images to provide, for example, geographical data and provide viable and standardized information. So through this platform, we have innovative approaches. We can extract from an area and provide on continual processes a certain number of information. We can also mechanize, contextualize all the changes at all level, and then we can translate these information into indicators that can be mobilized in a very simple tool that can be used, and also involve all the different actors involved in this specific field. That's what we do. We are proud of our approach and results over the past years. Why? Why should we stop on a project, whereas we have the capacity to work on a global scale? Whereas some actors, they need to monitor many places on the planet at the same time, simultaneously on a bigger area, but we have the technology to provide a global data on a continual progress. We've done that in Europe, in the United States, on the Maghrebian area. So, and then Nimbo provides all actor a monthly with no cloud that allows to make a follow-up on the planet and see what has to be protected, the mangrove, the forest, or artificialization of soils, and everybody would have access to the working on it, and then build new models through the artificial intelligence on and working on very specific fields. So Nimbo is a very operational, viable tools.
Vraiment global afin de suivre toutes ces mutations du monde qui opèrent et qui provoquent de temps en temps le réchauffement climatique. Voilà, je vous remercie beaucoup.
Merci, merci Nicolas, merci. Nicolas Beaugendre, Kermap, et nous...
Well, now we're going to call Mr. Pierre Chapelle. Good morning, everybody. I'm Pierre Chapelle. I'm the founder of Eneric. What we do is we transform a smartphone to a laboratory. So we take all the cereals, we take a picture of a cereal, and then we make it, we give you the quality of the coffee, or the cacao, and all this stuff. So smartphone is very interesting because we all have one. You have 7 billion of people who have one. And the technology of biometric reconnaissance should be something to you that allows the smartphone to recognize you and say that you are the owner of this phone. But that biometric technology has been developed in a framework of grains that allow us to understand when you take the grain of coffee, of corns, we have a certain number of information which are interesting. What I'm trying to tell you is that that's application. You take a picture of coffee, I would be able to tell you on the spot that this coffee has been produced from this place, and that's very interesting to fight against deforestation because it allows to avoid products which have been produced in deforested places. So this capacity has been discovered by chance. We were developing our database that constitute 15,000 producers in France. So we tried deeply to associate images to places of production, and it worked thanks to this algorithm. So we say that why not to use it, and we have a partner here who's working with us, which we are trying to develop many solutions for cacao and coffee, and he's a very important partner. He supports us. This project can be very fast, so I would like to send a message that if you have public or private partner who would like to join to develop this technology, because you have the use and the development of this technology. There's a chain of activities, so do not hesitate to come and see us after this. So a little work on Eneric. We are a pocket lab. We can provide quality data spontaneously, and most of our products are sold worldwide. So these are the little words. I just wanted to make a specification of this technological nature of this good. Thank you very much. Now, next on stage.
Of Ocala, Dr. Robin Whittock.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm a scientist, recently turned businessman. And one of the key messages I've heard here at the summit is we need to be able to measure biodiversity in order to be able to value it. And often I see the same question come up time after time. How do we measure biodiversity? It's very difficult, very challenging. Well, I would argue against that completely. At Ocala, we develop technologies built on AI and sensor technologies that you can deploy at landscape scales across whole national parks, even countries, to collect data on your biodiversity. Imagine you manage a forest landscape, you're a national park manager, or perhaps you you're running a mining operation or a forestry operation, your financiers might ask you, where is your wildlife? Now, traditionally, you would go in the field, you would organize surveys, you would take samples of elephant dung, you would track signs, and you record all of that information. You'd then bring it back to an office or a lab, and it would take months or years to process that data and actually understand where your biodiversity is. Our sensor technology and AI platforms completely address that. We can deploy thousands of cameras and audio sensors in the forest, and we can tell you where your elephants were last month, and even we can do it today. So we have sensors with built-in artificial intelligence, and when an elephant walks by, it sends the result instantly in real time over satellite. So this question of measuring biodiversity in order to be able to value it and monitor it, we have a solution to that. And really, science has been trying to address the question of measuring biodiversity. Ocala, we want to address how we scale that up, indeed to national levels. So no longer, waiting around for years, waiting on reports. We actually want to make this a very scalable, rapid solution for monitoring biodiversity. And in fact, the kind of data we acquire, we've got a picture of the camera trap there. We collect HD videos. If you ask anyone who's monitoring biodiversity, how can you manage hundreds of cameras with HD videos, terabytes of data? It's almost impossible. But built on my experience and experience of my colleagues working in Central Africa for the last 10 plus years, we've developed both the field tools and the protocols and the IT side to be able to manage that kind of data. So next time you're in a conversation about how do we measure and value biodiversity, know that we do have the solutions and they do exist. And instead of you telling your financiers, oh, we had a population of 50,000 plus minus 20,000 elephants 5 years ago, you want to be telling them, no, let's log into our platform. We had 40 elephants pass by these sensors today, 10 elephants over here, 10 gorillas there, 5 leopards there. And eventually you'll be able to identify the individual leopards and the individual elephants using AI. So Ocala offers those services. We have a pilot project in Gabon. We manage 270,000 hectares of forest. We can demonstrate how this works in the field and on the computer. And I'd be very interested to talk to you after the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Robin. Thank you very much. And now we'll welcome the CEO and founder of Flying Whales. Please welcome Sébastien.
Monsieur le ministre, bonjour à tous. Je ne vais pas vous reparler de la question de la déforestation. Le ministre l'a bien mieux expliqué que moi, et la nécessité de préserver le capital, de ne prélever qu'une quote-part du dividende, etc. Je vais plutôt vous raconter une histoire française qui arrive au Gabon. La filière bois, très curieusement, était le 3e poste de déficit de la balance commerciale en France dans les années 2013, l'année où j'ai rencontré Coupa d'ailleurs. Et donc il fallait trouver une solution pour extraire le bois, mais avec 2 conditions. 1, à très bas coût, c'est une même problématique ici, et 2, à très faible empreinte environnementale, et c'était critique puisque c'était un enjeu macroéconomique pour la France. Donc la France a un savoir-faire extraordinaire, c'est l'aéronautique, et donc a constitué un consortium avec des Safran, des Thales, enfin tous les grands groupes de l'aéronautique, pour développer cet aéronef. Donc c'est un dirigeable charge lourde qui est absolument gigantesque, qui fait 200 mètres de long, il a une soute de 100 mètres, donc est capable de transporter 60 tonnes de bois. Et l'accord avec l'ONF, c'est d'aller faire jusqu'à 5 rotations par jour entre les sites de prélèvement et les scieries pour livrer jusqu'à donc 300 tonnes. Évidemment, rapidement, l'ONF nous a dit « mais vous ne pourrez pas vous poser en forêt, et puis d'ailleurs, vous ne pourrez pas vous poser à la scierie non plus, il n'y a pas de place ». Donc il va falloir développer une technologie qui est unique au monde, c'est la capacité à charger et décharger en vol. Donc vous voyez, la machine ne se pose pas, elle vient se positionner au-dessus de la forêt. Les opérateurs de la forêt, comme le groupe Rougier par exemple, préparent les grumes et la machine la prélève et va les livrer de la même manière à la scierie. Voilà. Ce qui fait que non seulement c'est à bas coût, mais c'est sans empreinte environnementale puisqu'il n'y a pas d'empreinte au sol. Et puis, il n'y a pas d'empreinte en vol, puisque cette machine sera toute électrique. Voilà. Rapidement, Flying Whale s'est aperçu aussi qu'il fallait développer non seulement le constructeur aéronautique, mais l'opérateur.
And the idea was to develop the first basis, and then the second, and then the third basis in order to develop wood. And we are going to do the same thing in Guyane. And in order to finish that quick presentation, we realized that there was, a gigantic space. And from the moment we were able to render this service to the wood sector, we were able to transport the containers in order to be able to get some regions connected, which necessarily do not have the infrastructures, and we were able to transport so many things. So this aircraft program is coming to the end. It has started its certification nearby the European authorities, and now we are trying to start the deployment of the first bases in France and Guyane. And it's a pleasure for me, to sign so many agreements with GIZ, with the groups PS, in order to see how we can come and, implement this solution in Gabon, not just to make words, but also to boost the economic development, because forest is helpful to everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Celestine. And the next on the chain is going to be Olivier Hainaut, Net Zero. Thank you very much. So I would like to speak in English if you don't mind. Don't worry, you can speak in English because you've got, the translation.
Of Net Zero, we're a young startup. We were founded 2 years ago, but we're already present in 3 countries, France, Cameroon, and Brazil. We have 130 employees, and we're growing very fast. What we're trying to do is bring at scale biochar. So what we do is we get crop residues, and we extract the carbon that there's in it. And so we get this product that you see on the screen, which is basically solid carbon, and we put it in the soil. And this allows us to do 2 things. The first is it's a way to store atmospheric carbon in the soils for a very long time. The carbon will remain stable for hundreds of years in the soil. And so we're effectively sequestering carbon from the atmosphere in the soils. This is an IPCC validated solution since 2018. And so what we're trying to do is first to bring this solution at scale for its carbon removal benefits. Using biochar in the soils is that it helps improve the productivity and the quality of the soils. Basically, biochar is in the soil a carbon sponge that will retain water and nutrients at root level. And so you get much higher yields, especially in the tropics. We're talking plus 25% order of magnitude. And you can also reduce the use of fertilizers to have a more sustainable agriculture. Now, what's the link with forests? As you know, deforestation is mainly driven by agriculture. And so if you improve the productivity of agriculture, you can produce more on a limited surface. And so biochar can be a very helpful tool in doing this. Biochar can also help in reforestation. When planting trees, there's a big problem. Approximately half of the trees you're going to plant will die in the first 5 years. And mainly, main factor is soil quality. And so if you put biochar, you maximize the effectiveness of reforestation programs. So this is basically what we do. We have been selected last year in the X Prize carbon removal competition organized by the Musk Foundation as one of the world's 15 most promising carbon removal projects. We've also been labeled by the Solar Impulse Foundation last year, and we got our first carbon credits certified by Puro, which is the leading certification standard for biochar and for long-term carbon removal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivier. Thank you so much. All right, next.
Let me check.
Yeah, here you are. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Yes, I will speak French because I think everybody.
Well, we are a company. We use 160 people. We developed a technology that allows to produce coal, wood coal, The particularity is that it's announced to create coal without polluting, with the advantage of recycling all the waste in forest in companies which are underexploited but which generate pollution. So the solution we set up now in France over the past 10 years, and with which we've produced 50,000 tons of coal, we would like to see how this is possible to integrate that in a Congo Basin and have a complete, without having to use new wood, without having to deforest, use just the waste. The point is to have the biochar, as my colleague said. This is one of the options. It also substitutes to the fossil carbon. This biocarbon, which of course pollutes less, can be used for people using ferriene, siliciums. We can see from France, reduction in Norway, France, Spain, and we have a large quantity which is not used, lost, and next to this big economy, we also produce electricity with the gas. So we capture this gas. It doesn't use any other energy, only the process, which means that we are totally autonomous and we produce electricity locally. We also produce coal, and we know that in Africa it's a serious problem, and that's one of the main causes of deforestation, and that can also be reused domestically for local population. We are humble, and we know that Africa is the first coal producer in the world. For us to succeed in this technological transfer, we will need local actors, we will need local industrials, and also funds which are being set up. Yes, transparency is also part of the process. We are working with local NGO and WWF to have full traceability. We don't need to cut any tree. We only collect the waste. It's the first country that consumes this. Thank you very much.
Laura from Airbus Defence and Space.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be very short because we're running out of time. And the, deforestation and with local engagement of the local communities, sort of you take a smartphone and you're going to find your preferred tool and then see how you're going to get to the destination. So how? We will have satellite image. We localize where we were, and then we go through navigation, through a perimeter which is proper to our movement. We'll, for example, say willing framework and small producer. You can be a big actor of the agri-business, or you can be a local administrator. So we put all these data. This is what we do in Starlink, which is a digital platform that takes satellite images to the valorization of all the chains. That's going to be the supply chain. Today, for example, the consume that you've consumed that may have deforestation evidence, what might be the impact on local population, and what can be the in a way, just to say that a sort of co-pilot that help us see and have the knowledge necessary to understand the process from which your coffee or that product you consume. So the point is a simple way to access the technology. And then the point is to have an expertise, involve the community. And that might be my last point. Because today, and might be the case in Côte d'Ivoire, it might be in Southeast Asia, it might be on cocoa, coffee, and etc. We are going to make local territory more attractive. So support, assist them, diversify their revenues, but also in activities of forestry, conservation, preservation, which is going to be holistic. For example, to the altitude, to the awareness on the field, and a framework well identified. So I was very happy. I know we are running out of time. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak, and thank you very much for your admirable attention. Thank you. You will have the opportunity to discuss with anybody who wants further information. Thank you very much.
Et nous allons démarrer le premier.
Now we'll move to the first panel, sustainable use of energy, wood. Madame Sylvie and Nangachuchu Toro. Would you mind clapping them? Well, we have a microphone. We are going to talk about this topic. I'll start with you. I'm Christelle, not Sylvie. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I'm calling you Sylvie. I just talked to Sylvie. So Christelle, you're CEO of Eramet. Your company invests in a project that entices us substituting the biomass. You talked about that this morning to decarbonize an industrial process. Can you tell the audience how you do it? Not to avoid deforestation. Maybe to say 2 to 3 things on Eramet here in Gabon. Eramet is very present in Gabon. We've been here for over 30 years. We developed the biggest manganese mining, 5.5 million tons last year. We also we employ more than 3,000 people directly, plus €. We generate a lot of value in the economy. So in the mine, and the railway that we use. So we have activities of transformation of the mine, metallurgical activities, both in cities. We have the silver. When you look at the impact, the mine itself has a fingerprint in terms of diversity impact, but in terms of the greenhouse gas emission, it comes from the steel, the steel. So the process takes into account the component of the mining. So as it was explained with the solar, the idea is to substitute the coke, which is used in our process and which is imported, transported by train, first of all by boat to reach Gabon, and then by train to Mwanda, and then substitute by bioreducers. These bioreducers may come straight from waste, wood, waste. We have this wood, which is exploited between what we lose in the forest and the transformation of wood. We have almost 30%. 70% comes out of waste. So we transform them into bioreducers. It compels us to use a specific technology, but allows to substitute one part of the coke. Well, with the advancement of the technology, you know that today, so we use the coke in our furnace in Gabon. That's the first step. We would like to substitute 50% of the coke, which will allow to reduce our emission, our gases in the nature. So here in Gabon, that's the case, and we need 40,000 tons bioreducers. And it is very significant. This wood can come from waste, as I said, come from plantations. In fact, we really work. We are studying to see which species, which type of waste of wood that come from plantation, which area in which we can exploit. This can be exploited. And you also have the savanna in which we can plant. So we are studying to see which type of plantation we can make and how the waste can be made. We also have to develop the technology because it demands a lot of modification. But let me tell you, it's very complex because it demands certain dimension of reforestation, generate jobs, brings a chain of value in a way that all the waste is being used on good purpose and decarbonize the metallurgical industry because of course this is an important component of steel, and because you know that steel also pollutes. And if we succeed in substituting it in our factory, well, Gabon will be the first manufacturer of the manganese alliage that comes from dames with bioreducers substituted by the coke, and you will have a green metal which will allow us to decarbonize both here in Gabon, but at the same time export that to other branches of our company, so Gabon will become an exporter of the green metal. I think it's a good project for Gabon because it creates values and has a significant impact for Gabon on urbanized. Thank you, Christelle, for this. Well, Eric, I'm coming to you. You're the manager of, you're working on the Congo Basin, and your company is, your organization is an NGO, and you are trying to make your project a motor of prosperity for the green economy. So what is the message that you want to send to government and the companies looking at you? Maybe the first thing I would like to say that some start-up are there. We have Airbus, we have Carbon X, we have Net Zero. These are all our partners, but we work on environmental and social component on the chains of environment. So we look at the inclusivity because ecology is our focus. We see how the communities can seize the opportunity that we offer. 6 years ago, in a framework of the Partnership for the Congo Basin Forest, we requested issues of forest to be extended to agribusiness and forest companies because they are involved. We see this with Olam here in Gabon, but also with many other agribusiness companies here and there. So you have Eramet, who's in the field. Well, if I talk about the rehabilitation of mining sites, it's not only a prerequisite, but it's also something that we have to observe with a great deal of care. My colleague just talked about the rehabilitation of sites, but the planting of trees. Look at the land issue because these are key. Today we have the state, which is central, lands belong to the state. That's a message that we have to revise with emerging issues. But today all the discussions on the carbons related discussions, when these communities see their interests, they get involved. You have to make every single project interesting and attractive for the community. So they talked, some other entity talk about the image on the satellite, but we on the field try to evaluate the impact on communities. So good. We also have to look at the social part, but attract by the same way the government attention. What are the legal framework on the land issues, the involvement of the local government with the targeted sites and the sharing of the benefits. When I say this, I also want to tackle, because we produce the electrical energy, when you look at the institutional framework, we realize that we are in places where we need energy. But this is not allowed by the institutional framework. This, again, is important. You know, I participated to a set of been doing over the past 6 years when we came at the leadership of Eramet with a lot of work with communities on both the environmental issue, biodiversity. We created the first foundation for biodiversity with the Park of Lekidi. We also created an RSC fund with the government of Gabon to finance an initiative in terms of economic, health, infrastructure project. So I think we are moving the lines. And companies, we, of course, have many things to bring. We have to be part of the trip. And we are doing it with the Gabonese authorities, because we have to listen. By listening to the population, the RSE fund that we set up with the benefit of Comulor, which is 12 million euros per year, it is co-managed with the government of Gabon, the company, and the communities. So there's a triangular management, because these communities have a word to say. All the time, we company, most of the time, we come to them and say, this is what is good for you. And the population tells you the contrary, that this is reality of what we want. So what we are doing now is we listen to them. So we build our initiative on what the community asks us in reality. And this is important, because we have to be the listeners and not the givers of the lesson. And I think that beyond our actions, we have the protection of the planet that we've been talking about for years, the protection of the forest, but you also have all aspects of economic development. We want to develop economy beyond the mine. We have to make sure that here in Gabon, the manganese should allow the life to be extended to 50 years. But when we stop exploiting the mine, there is an ecosystem that remains. Agriculture should continue to be exploited. We have to train women to the digital. We have to train young people. So you generate an economy so as to create a business ecosystem by repairing the environmental impact that can happen, deforestation and all the stuff, but we also create a true ecosystem with the community. That is why I think that we, as private actors, we have a big role to play, and the government is free to participate in these type of initiatives. You want to add something? No, I think that just want to specify that beyond the dialogue, we have to involve pedagogically local government. I don't think that they don't understand, but most of the time they don't really perceive what their participation has to be. And that is why in the consultation that we conduct, when they understand, now they adhere and fully participate in. So thank you very much. Would you mind clapping for them?
Et maintenant, nous allons parler justement dans ce...
Well, now we're going to talk in this next panel. We are going to talk about transferring technology as well as capacities. And I have the pleasure to welcome here Omer Ghetan Maledi Guillaume, Réveillard, Pierre Nadège, and Pascal Canfin. Thanks for joining me here. Yeah, do please have a seat. Yeah, madam, you can. Yeah, great. Well, welcome once again, Omer Gatia. So you are the Executive Secretary of the Interprofessional Council of Coffee and Cocoa of Cameroon, and Bievegia, who is the CEO of PEGIA. And we have the Rainforest Alliance Director for Central Africa as well as West Africa, Nadège, and Pascal Canfin, who is the President of the Environmental Commission of the European Parliament. So welcome to all of you. So first of all, I'm going to address Omer. So I was saying that for you in the sector of cocoa and coffee in Cameroon, you are committed in initiatives to make sure that there's a better payment. So you were talking about the producers, of the training of the young people in cocoa culture. So I've got a lot of questions for you, but we do not have a lot of time. So could you please tell us some of the advantages of your initiatives, and what is the message that today you would like to give to the governments, particularly the European governments? Well, in terms of initiative, Cameroon in the coffee and sector, but mostly coffee, we are addressing a question which for us is the basis of sustainability, which is man. So whoever makes cocoa, I mean, the people who are going to address the cocoa in 20 years, the cocoa cultures, you know, of 20 years. But we cannot count on somebody like me because I do not do it. I mean, doing cocoa in 20 years. So we have been addressing this issue, and we came with a program that we call the New Generation. So we are trying to insert young people, men, women, in the culture of cocoa, which is a sustainable culture. So to these young people, it's very simple. Very quickly, as Africans, we all have a village, and all the Africans have a village because they are at home. So the land issue is very quickly solved. We take them by groups, and they work, and we try to assist them through the cocoa. So we give them everything, apart from the land which belongs to them. We give them everything. So we give them the training and every necessary input, and we assist them for 3 years so that each of them can have at least 3 hectares of cocoa lands. And at the end of 3 years, each young people will be a millionaire. And we also go beyond that, because after having inserted them, we try to train them on how to sell them in a good price. And that's the initiative that we've been facing. And we are working with cocoa, farmers of France, and who put themselves in an association that they called Cocoa Farmers Club, and they get committed in paying an exceptional price. And today, for the campaign we just achieved, they are paying €2.70 the kg on 400, CFA francs. We know that in Cote d'Ivoire it's 900. In Cameroon, with the chocolate farmers who are committed in this framework, it's 1,400. So it is a wonderful adventure, which is a human adventure, which is a forest adventure, because these young people are working in agroforestry, which is an economic adventure, because these young people, they settle in their villages. They don't need to come to the big cities. They do not even imagine going to take the boat and then go and die in the Mediterranean Sea. So it is the contrary that we have in Cameroon, because some young people are leaving the cities, are going to the village, because all those young people with 3 hectares, they have a net profit, which is beyond the salary of a civil servant. So they have got a big saving. For us, it's something fantastic. And let me just address your last question, which is, what do we want? I'm very happy to see ministers and decision makers in front of us. So please, I would like to get you committed in this adventure, because we are young Africans who are not in Libreville or in Douala, but they are in their villages, and they are developing their villages. And then they get them to come back in the villages, settle there. For us, it's something fantastic. And a lot of people of technology, which are at the production of these sectors. But I will take you to the other side of the value chain, mainly in Europe, where we are consuming more products which are consumed, and where we process them, in return directly regarding the consumers. I mean, agro-food products, cosmetic products. We process them in so many things. Well, I'm also an entrepreneur, and I have started my company 2 years ago. It was a small company. It was just a small company, but today it has become a leading company on this, pastry market, not just in Europe, but also in America. So on this way, we came to realize that the sector of the capture of the carbon in the biomass, as well as the eradication of deforestation, yeah, definitely. We just stand up and then we move forward. So we came with a collective with the big companies like Nestle, Ferrero. We are working with all of them, Pierre Fabre. So also some small companies, which I do not know the name now, and all of them have come in our approach, in this wonderful approach, in order to get the supply chain to be boosted in an objective of zero deforestation, which we have taken right from 2012. And now we are about 20 companies working together, and we are fighting against deforestation. And to that fact, and now I'm going to answer to your question, we've got some tool, is a tool which we talked about, which is the tool developed by Airbus in order to allow the satellite vigilance, which has been implemented with the assistance of Oxfam. And for some of our members at that time, Ferrero, Nestle, and all these companies were not as huge as they are now. But today, they are huge, and they are attracting other actors who are joining the movement. So we have started with the palm oil. And ever since then, it has become a landscaper, multi-commodities, which are, shining because of the cocoa, the soja, the palm oil, and other commodities with a huge work which we've been doing for 9 years. So we are talking about tools of understanding of the supply chain. Within the alliance, we've got an assessment tool for all the members on the decrypting of the supply chain. We are doing that year after year, and also it's not about the tools, but these are initiatives on the ground, because we are collecting an which is called Trail. So we came together to build the forest together in a palm oil plantation to the benefit of the elephant, under the impulsion of CIRAD, subsidized by the French government and co-financed by the Alliance, with an implementation of an NGO, a local NGO called Temple Formidable. So as you can see, there is a whole set of companies which are put together in order to come to this thing that we are doing. So that will permit me to answer to the question, because the power of the private sector lives of the ground. So we are confronted now with the issues. There are 3 issues that we are confronted with. The first one is the issue of a political issue, and I think that the organization of this summit is fantastic because it permits us to join the different stakeholders, private sector, public sector, civil society, NGOs, scientific community, and all of them. Secondly, we have an economic problem, so we have to subsidize all this. It is very difficult to do. So we need, what I said this morning, we need to find a solution so that the companies, the most powerful companies, the most virtuous companies in the value chain could also profit, take advantage of this value chain in order to carry on with the work on the ground, and then to make sure they are competitive regarding the products which are coming from the value chain. And their competitivity is going to be because if we harness this competitivity, it's going to be a problem. So let's get back on some of these subjects. Let me go back to Nadej. Nadej, I was saying that you are the director of Rainforest for Central and West Africa. So we have addressed these issues, and I'm going to address you after. We talked about this new European regulation. What for you are the actions of capacity buildings needed in order to allow the smallholder farmers to access the market and then get developed without deforesting? Yeah, the regulation of the European Union are affecting some of the products directly. Directly developed by the communities or produced by the communities. And just like the cocoa, we know that the cocoa is exclusively produced, in the smallholder farmings. and by the smallholder farmers. The first question is, why do they deforest? Why do they open the forest? Because I've been talking about, cleaning. So in Central Africa, when we talk about cocoa, we talk about agroforest. And there are some satellite images which do not even allow you to see the cocoa seeds. So it is very important to know why they do deforest, because the cocoa plantations are old plantations of more than 60 years, and the productivity is going down. I mean, the yielding is going down, and the smallholder farmers, they need more money, they need more income, which means that from a more important volume of cocoa to a higher one. And that's why the plantations are very old. I mean, in fertile forests, in order to have volume and make little money. So what we will say is, it's very important to assist those smallholder farmers in the restoration. So we have said it a lot of times. We said you do not need to come with new plantations, but as long as they are on old plantations which are not yielding anymore, so they will be obliged to go to fertile lands which are in the forest. So investing in the restoration of cocos, of the cocoa trees, the cocoa plants, and assisting those smallholder farmers in the implementation of the good agricultural practices, which should reach up to 1,000 hectares. Because in Cameroon, for example, we are just at 300 hectares. In the certified plantations, we sometimes get to up to 700 production kgs. I think it is possible to do more. And we believe that it is important to emphasize those restoration. Secondly, allow me to say that we need to diversify the income of the smallholder farmers, because the smallholder farmers should be able to follow up to, throughout the year. And emphasizing only on cocoa is not going to be the cocoa plants, and the access to the market is not what it should be. And in this case, we will talk about the processing in more value added in order to get better access to the market. Now coming to the production of the cocoa planters, it is very important to improve the access to the market. And wonderful examples, just like the one of New Generation and Alliance Direct between the cocoa planter and the cocoa farmers and the transporters, is very good, because it will permit to double the income of the smallholder farmers. So we think that the capacity building should be there, assisting in the restoration should be there. Two, the diversification of the incomes. And let me add 3, these smallholder farmers in the forest areas are contributing to the biodiversity and the preservation of the forest. So it will be very important to think about the new system of financing them, of subsidizing them, so that they could come to the preservation of the forest. So these are our 3 elements of reinforcing the buildings. That's very clear, Nadej. Let me now go to Pascal. So, Pascal, I was saying that you are the president of the Environment Commission of the European Parliament, and you have been the great champion of the European regulation, which has been adopted, at the end of the year last year. Before talking about regulation, maybe you've heard about, our speakers, you've heard about what they said, if you've got something to say about everything they just mentioned. And maybe the issue on the regulation, which is not well appreciated by the producing countries. So what would you like to say in terms of cooperation with the producing countries?
Well, I had intention to respond to this question. We are really proud as legislature in the European Union for having taken the first law in the world on the access to the closest access to the European market to products, chains of value that cannot prove or which are not from zero deforestation. How does that work? We've done it on 3 different products: coffee, cocoa, palm oil, beef. Why? Because these are the biggest drivers of deforestation in the world. In tropical forest. This is not what we say in Europe, but this is a fact. We took these 6 products, and then we are going to extend to other when the regulation will be revised in 3 years. So it will be in force by 2024. That means by that year, you will no longer have the possibility to sell your cocoa or any other product if you can't prove through satellite image that it's not coming from deforestation. What we mean by deforestation, that means since 2020.
Pourquoi on a fait ça?
Why did we do this? Just to change the scale. And this is fundamental. because all the willing initiatives are key, are virtuous. Yes, but the key problem is the change of scale. If you want to make it less, or we want to make it marginal, we want to make it green, or we want everybody to take a law, and that's what we did. And we are the first one in the world to do it. I hope that in the United States or any other parts of the world, they will do it. So we took the law with economic stakeholders, producers, organization of producers, the smallest one to the transformer, including the intermediaries, actors, because it was a business summit. And we went from all the experiences of those who did it willingly, because for 10 years, a certain number of companies, took it as a battle horde and involved in zero deforestation product related. So how do? We go from the traceability, and then question was to see what works, and then we came, okay, and said, you've been doing this for 10 years, we're going to take this raw material and establish it as a standard. And that is why the document, the law was supported, because we standed on concrete things, which was already achieved by responsible companies. And then for the information, we worked with Airbus, and let me come back on the presentation I was done, to make sure that the information that is provided is available at low cost. And I go to, first, for it to work, we need many things. First thing, the information available to prove that this product is not coming from a deforested place must be accessible. That is why we work with those who produce the satellite image, should be able to make it accessible at low cost. And we asked the EU Commission to open a platform accessible to any producer of cocoa here in Gabon to access to information they will need when they will have to sell or to transform or to go through the customs. Secondly, and I'm totally agreeing, if we support on the field the development of good practices, that is the change of practices for those who don't even apply good practices. That is why we requested in that law during the negotiation at the EU discussion to resume with all its assistance, and Central Africa is included, to see how they can adapt their development aid to the, but it's a little different on the field. So there's no opposition between the two. And I even think that that's even the success of the law, that it works on the field. And the condition for us to deploy good practices on the field and the market, and the best way to structure the market is that we make it compulsory and we go in that vein. There's no opposition between the two aspects. I think it's even a value chain that we are creating, and then it's by winning the two battles that we will win this deforestation issue and this conservation. So thank you. Well, on the cooperation, you want to add something on that cooperation with producer company, because you're working on the field. What is missing? Mr. Chair, we don't have, we are not against with that. It's obviously good for us. And I'm happy that you're sitting next to me, and I'm sure we will take dinner together. And the third point that you mentioned is the assistant. And this is crucial for us. We want to see the fact that the EU Commission is very open to our proposals. It's very open, and that's very important, because there are many little amendments to make. And if we don't make these amendments, the regulation will install a sort of coffee Yalta. Only those who will have blindly, those who would have been wiser in Central Africa, who preserve their forest and who haven't deforested our areas will be reduced and will be limited to the satellite photo on 2020. So these are little things. The dialogues have been launched because I personally think that the EU did not want to distribute the future market of the market. But this is what is going to happen in long term. And we are just rebelling on the fact that you, on your side, say these parts will produce a lot because they deforested. And this is going to correspond to a deforestation bonus. We would have done the same thing and have bigger spaces for the production of coffee. But I understand that wasn't a goal of your law. It would have been the case if we didn't work together. And I'm really happy, and I'm saying this in front of all this audience, because I'm working with a group in Brussels that discusses the measures to apply for all the aspects and the 2 next years during which we're going to revise. Your colleagues in Brussels, all the directors of the commissions are really, attentive to what we say. And I'm happy. I'm really afraid you tell them, I want you to tell them, please go fast with Central Africa because we don't have forest. We haven't deforested and we need our bonus for that. I think you have many things to say, but you will have time for it. Just give a word to Timo. I think the topic is very key, is sensitive. You don't have to look at, let's see the positive part of that. Many things have been done, but we still have a long way to go. And this work can only be done in a consensus. There's a first step with this European law that I congratulate because we now have a legal framework. I'm sure there are going to be some amendment to fix when you look at the maturity of a state and its conservation of its forests. I'm not going to go into that debate. But if you look at the chain of value, I think that we don't have any other solution. If not, taking all these chains of value to the durability. And I think that this is going to be the first time in 15 years, and for others it's 30 years, that we come to a concrete action. And I will say that please let's go to the resolution, finding solutions. There's a real discussion underway between the North and the countries of the center. Let's fast track the process. A little word? I personally will say that incentives to small producers for them to continue to produce for years, because not only their plantations are all the producers of the cocoa and coffee, but more incentives to those working in certified feed that can prove it. Thank you. I think, Pascal, I think now you have good friends. Let us clap for them. Round of applause. Thank you. We're running out of time. Now we move to the next discussion, which is on the recommendation. With us.
Installez-vous.
Please take a seat. Good morning.
Vous avez des micros, je vous laisse.
You have microphones. I give you the time to take your seat. Good. Cordeau, you are the General Directorate of Equatorial's company of deforestation. That's a Gabonese company. Kim, what do you...
The Executive Director General of the Forest Stewardship Council, so it's great to have you. Et Monsieur le Ministre.
And Minister, you are welcome. I have many questions for you. We're running out of time. We are going to do our best to cover the maximum number of top topics.
Je vais démarrer avec.
Well, I'll start with you. That's company in which you were talking about biocosmetic products, and you are the administrator. Equitable share of the genetic use of resources. I just want to say I'm a French, but I'm first of all from Martinique, a small island on the Caribbean that faces the same problem we have. Traditional medicine that used to be oral, that we